And as the U.S. housing market's recovery gains momentum, foreign investment is certainly helping it along. According to the National Association of Realtors, non-American buyers accounted for $82 billion in home sales last year. More than $7 billion of that is by the Chinese, who are now the second largest foreign home purchasers after our neighbors up north, the Canadians. They're buying homes from California to New York. And joining us to discuss this is Keith Abell, co-founder of Sungate Properties, a real estate investment company. Keith, thanks for joining us. So why are the Chinese buyers so attracted to the U.S. market?
Well, in my experience, they're generally seeking diversification from their investments in China. They like real estate culturally, and real estate is an asset class that they know a lot about. They are in the United States. They're seeking both a safe haven for investments and also a reasonable return on their investment.
Is there any particular region that's drawing more Chinese buyers than others? What are some of the hot property markets?
Well, it varies from commercial to residential.
Well, we're focused on residential.
Well, on residential, I think that at the very high end, a lot of properties in New York City, condo market have been going to wealthy Chinese. Vancouver in Canada, as you know, is a magnet for Chinese capital, and the real estate market there has been booming largely for that reason. San Francisco also. I think that there are interesting distressed plays in the United States right now, particularly in the Sun Belt. It's played out a bit, but the investments in overbuilt areas of Arizona and South Florida have been very attractive as well.
How much of the appeal for Chinese investors in the U.S. stems from perhaps the concern that Chinese real estate may be experiencing a bubble and from the Chinese government's restrictions on home buying?
I couldn't say. I'm not one of the people who believe that Chinese real estate is likely to be the kind of bubble that we had here in the United States.
But there are restrictions by the government on home buying.
I think that Chinese coming to the United States to buy real estate is a terrific idea. I think it's an asset class that they're comfortable with. I think that the marketplace here can accommodate whatever amount of capital they want to bring. I think there's opportunities on commercial and retail side as well as on the residential side.
How significant is the recent appreciation of the renminbi in their purchasing power?
Well, I think you have to think about the longer term prospects for the renminbi and the dollar. The appreciation of the properties and the yield on the properties has to outpace whatever future appreciation one anticipates the renminbi will experience.
Right, so how does that factor into the investment calculation?
If I knew that, I could, if I knew that, I would know more than I do. It's hard to predict interest rate and currency movements, but I think that they will be happy over the longer term with quality properties and quality markets in the United States. I think some of the more distressed areas are probably not appropriate for foreign investors of any kind, not Chinese investors.
How much of these purchases are done in cash? How are these financed?
They have access to, on the commercial side, for meaningful commercial properties, they have access to commercial loans. On the residential side, I don't have data, but I would imagine they're primarily cash transactions.
But aren't there restrictions or limitations? What are some of the challenges involved in buying U.S. real estate for the Chinese, both from the U.S. government and from the Chinese government?
I don't think it's difficult at all. I think that it's no more difficult for a Chinese investor than it is for a U.S. investor. There's complex tax structuring on large commercial transaction that would be necessary for any foreign buyer. But the Chinese are not the first group of foreign buyers that have entered the U.S. market seeking quality real estate. The Canadians, the Dutch, German banks, Europeans, the Japanese have been doing this for a long time.
Well, recently the U.S. government has actually made some accommodations to the visa policy because that's always a factor when purchasers are coming to buy homes to live here. Tell me about some of the more recent accommodations that have been made with regards to the legalities for the Chinese buyers that are looking to live in the U.S.
Well, there are visa programs for people that want to invest in the United States and create jobs in the United States. It's called the EB-5 visa program. Real estate, in order to qualify for that, would have to be able to create jobs over a longer period of time. So in order for that to work for the visa purposes, one would have to do either a hotel development or development of some sort that would create permanent employment over a period of time. It can be done. It is done. It's more attractive in areas that are more distressed.
Okay, well, thank you so much for that. That's Keith Abell, co-founder of Sungate Properties, a real estate investment company.